Welcome to another episode of No One Dies from Divorce Tips. Today I'm talking about, does the length of the marriage or my age affect the divorce? Now, this is something that I actually wrote in my book in chapter 1, page 17, and I want to just go right to it because I think it's pretty solid advice. The short answer is absolutely. Short-term marriages with little to no assets are much simpler to get through and allow both parties to get back to ground zero quicker and to move forward quickly. Obviously, a 25-year-old getting divorced has the ability to gain skills and move forward with life. However, a mid-50s mother of 5 who has been a housewife for the past 20 years is going to have a much harder time regrouping and gaining skills to be self-sufficient. Further, the older you are, the more wealth you have built in hopes of retirement. Divorcing a few years before retirement can drastically change your plans and ability to retire. Therefore, these are the things you need to consider and understand prior to making a decision for divorce. So when you're looking at, hey, should I get a divorce? The first thing I want to say is no age should be the determining factor of whether you stay or go in a bad marriage. If it is a bad marriage, I don't care what age you are, there is life after divorce and you are deserving of something so much better. So I don't want you to ever say, well, I'm this age and therefore divorce just should not be in my cards. I should just put my head down. I should just suffer and I should just deal with it. That's not what we want, and that's not what I chant for every week here on No One Dies from Divorce. But there are obviously things that you have to be thinking about, because if you've never worked and you've never been in the workforce, but you're late 50s and maybe you and your spouse don't have enough money to support you through retirement when you split those retirements, you have to understand that you probably will have to go back to work, and you're going to be okay. You got to be okay with that. The other thing is you drastically reduce your wealth because you cut your assets in half. So there are major things that you have to consider, and you have to kind of look at that, but that's okay. You just kind of have to sit down and you have to make sure that you will recognize, first of all, that you're strong enough, that you're deserving of this happiness, and that you're able to still use your divorce as this platform to regroup and find that happiness. I've divorced people in their late 50s. They've been married 35 years and they're so terrified. But then I've seen what happens once you kind of eliminate that fear. You recognize that you can stand on your own 2 feet, that you're going to be okay. The happiness that comes afterwards is just, it's fallible. It's there. And I want to give you that hope that you are capable of grasping that as well. But it is going to take a little work, and it is going to take you lowering your expectations a little bit, because it's not going to be all rosy. It's not going to be perfect. Your spouse is especially if you're a woman, or a man expecting alimony or a shift of income to kind of support you through until you can get to retirement age, your expectations might need to change. And the court, especially in Utah, is going to require you to work, whether it's it's a minimum wage job or something, but you are able to get skills. The last thing I want to say is, a lot of times, especially with stay-at-home moms that are now in their 50s and getting divorced, and they're so scared about not having any skills to enter the workforce, I think that's just an excuse, and that is causing that brick wall from you moving forward, because stay-at-home moms have some of the best skills that can be utilized and needed in the workforce. And they just don't want to think that. But, if you've been a stay-at-home mom for years and you've had several kids, man, I bet you're amazing at cooking. You are taskmaster. You can multitask like a champ. Like, there are so many things that you have learned in those life skills that there are going to be employers that are seeking people just like you. So don't count yourself out, because you can. Also, don't count yourself out from going back and getting, education just because you are in your 50s or late 40s. Like, there's no better time than now to better yourself. And the divorce is an absolute launch pad and platform to allow you to do that. So the first thing is stop making excuses that are getting in your way of doing that. Get rid of the fear. talk to a really good attorney because you want to make sure you're protected, and go forward knowing that you're going to be okay and that you have the ability to stand on your feet and determine your own destiny. That's another divorce tip. Till next week. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, follow, and share. I'd love to hear your questions and feedback. You can contact me at community@jillcoyle.com. See you next time. I am an attorney, but I am not your attorney. Any advice given on the podcast is general and shall not be construed as legal advice.